creatures that are more advanced than humans.
I don't believe in the existence of humans. So that kind of undermines the whole question. There's nothing but spirit creature, and I wouldn't use the plural in that. And this spirit creature is this energetic, this infinite energetic presence we call reality, or call it an absence if you don't want to call it a presence. And it is everything, and it is definitely more advanced than humans. And yet, paradoxically, humans are it, so humans are as advanced as it is. So, it gets kind of confusing if you try and talk about it. The less said, the better. I'm going to shut up now until the next question.
I hear what you say of limiting it with names, but I'm just curious about things that I've read about for years, maybe what they were referring to.
Yeah.
Say, like in Tantric Buddhism, when they talked about what, for instance, would that be this?
Yeah.
Do you know what they were used to describe it? What words they used to describe this, or?
All of them, all the words, the whole procedure and process, and all the entities and paraphernalia of Tantric Buddhism are exactly describing this subtle energy.
It's not Rigpa, because that's like, I thought that was more.
Rigpa is actually synonymous with being. Rigpa is which is synonymous with awareness. It's the unstoppable, ever-present awareness. In a dollar bill, that eye that's inside a triangle, that's a symbol of. The fact that the present moment always shows up, and it always shows up in awareness, and you can't stop it, you can't start it, you can't rev it up, you can't ratchet it down. It's always just plain vanilla. Here it is. Now, whatever is happening within the present moment is happening, but it's happening within that absolute plain vanilla presence. And that's Rigpa. You can't, it's omnipresent, you can't get more of it, you can't get less of it. It's what's actually seeing your experience, it's what's actually experiencing your experience. And subtly, it's actually what your experience is made of, too. Because the Rigpa is also creative. The Rigpa is this, like we were talking about, pressure. Which is the Sambhogakaya. The Sambhogakaya is this creative pressure. This showing up as the mandala of the five energies, which is an arbitrary demarcation of the subtle energy center. I mean, basically, all I'm talking about tonight is just to start noticing the Sambhogakaya. This is the Nirmanakaya. All of this, apparent form. And the Sambhogakaya is the realm of the creative energies of consciousness, which are integral. They show up as a mandala. They aren't separate from each other, and yet they're differentiated. So they're both different, and they're both many in one. The Sambhogakaya is the realm of paradox. It's the realm of you can't talk about it. But you can see it, you can know it, and that's what I'm trying to point out.
I think that's what Paul built too, out of many one. People are ever saying.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Sure.
They kept that hidden for so long.
Yeah.
So this person on the internet asks, he says, you seem to say that the truth is inherent in reality, so we need not trust or believe, just find it out for ourselves.
Yes. Truth and reality are synonyms. They mean the same. Truth is a word for reality, and reality is a word for truth. What is true. And what isn't obviously isn't true. So What is true. It is true as it is. So truth and being are one and the same. And it's in the way truth actually is, the way being actually is indescribable. So you have to find out for yourself directly. Every word anyone has ever said throughout all of history, as long as humans have been speaking and until they stop speaking in the future, has been trying to describe reality. Has anyone succeeded? I don't think so. I mean, of course, except for my own humble self. But we can't, but the plus side of that, I mean, not that there's a minus side, the plus side of that is we can look and see for ourselves what it is, because here it is. Here's the being. Here it is. It's true. Look and see what it is. And that's all I'm really inviting us to do, is to look and see what this is. What is this? Here it is. It's not hidden. It's not somewhere over, it's not at the top of the Himalayas. You have to get 3 years off work and learn the mountain climb and go up there to find it. It's like right here. Here it is. What is it? What's going on here? How's this happening? It's plain to see. If you look at it beyond your expectations and beyond your accustomed categories, you're in for a surprise. I guarantee it. Because what's to be found here is astoundingly rich, astoundingly subtle, astoundingly vital, astoundingly meaningful.
And paradoxical.
And paradoxical. That's right.
Because you are what you're seeking.
Peter, I have a question. I've studied some Eastern philosophy, and a lot of the books talk about these various samadhis.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get your comments on that, if there's any relevance to reality and what you're talking about.
Yeah, I need to ask you to be more specific if you want specific kinds of
Well,
answers.
there's two kinds of samadhi that I've read about. One is Savikalpa samadhi, which is
Right. Yeah. This is Savikalpa samadhi right here.
and Nirvikalpa samadhi, which is
Yeah, and this is Nirvikalpa samadhi right here.
But in Eastern terminology and definition, they describe Nirvikalpa samadhi as a samadhi where you drop off the body.
Well, it means without qualities, without kalpas. And there are actually no qualities here whatsoever. And seeing the truth of that is Nirvikalpa samadhi.
Can you still live in this world as a...
Yeah, because there is no world. And when you see the truth of that, you're not living in this world. And yet you can live in this world since there's no world and no you. So it's all hypothetical anyway. But seeing the truth of that is Nirvikalpa samadhi, and it's nothing other than right here, right now. When you find Nirvikalpa samadhi, you will find exactly the condition you're in right now. When you find Savikalpa samadhi, you'll find exactly the condition you're in right now. Because
So what determines when the body goes away? What determines that?
What do you mean by go
The
away?
physical body, it drops off.
You mean you're talking about dying?
Yeah.
Well, that's getting into the mystery of karma, which from the point of view of the vikalpas, which either actually exist or actually don't exist, depending on if you're looking at it from the point of view of Savikalpa samadhi or Nirvikalpa samadhi. In one sense, there is no such thing as karma, because there's no such thing as conditions. Let me illustrate that by the example of a dream. In a dream, you're in the dream and you're with other people and all this events going on, and there's things around you and buildings and what all, right? But actually, there's nothing there, right? Because it's a dream. There's nothing there. There's no event. There's no karma. It just looks like event. It appears as if it was event, but there's nothing happening there. So when you see there's nothing happening there, that's Nirvikalpa samadhi. when you see it as something happening, that's savikalpa samadhi. But there's no actual difference between those two things. In one sense, in another sense, there's the actual seeing of the truth of that. If you could see for the truth of the fact that there is nothing here, you're in nirvikalpa samadhi. And it's not as subtle. Well, it is subtle. It's not as difficult or tricky or exalted as you might have been led to believe. It's not some great thing you have to prostrate yourself for 1,000 years to get to. It's just a simple perception that there's nothing here. Because everything that seems to be a thing here, if you look at it, you can't find anything. It's the same thing the Buddhists call emptiness. If you have the actual perception, the actual experience of the truth of emptiness, that is nirvikalpa samadhi. That's the awareness that there are no conditions, there are no qualities.
So then savikalpa could be like where we know that there is an awareness.
Because even though there's no qualities, here's all the qualities. So that's savikalpa samadhi. In more behavioral yogic terms, nirvikalpa samadhi, you typically expect to see no breath and the heart stopped, and you're sitting in a cave for 100 years, and in a state of miraculous preservation or something. Whereas savikalpa samadhi is Ramana Maharshi sitting around beaming like the 6 Marx brother, kind of thing.
Always left. I read somewhere that if you turn off all your bodily functions, you should wrap yourself in soft wax so that insects don't eat your body.
Advice to remember.
I do that.
Put that on a bumper sticker. But just note, and okay, so we weren't really finished talking about death and when the body stops and karma. Okay, so go back to our dream example. Even though we know there's nothing actually there, it looks as if there is. So what is it that's governing this appearance and this apparent flow of events? There's nothing there, and yet it looks as though it is. You're not there, but it looks like you're there. The environment isn't actually there, but it looks like it's there. There's no space, and yet it looks like you're in space. So karma is the apparent disposition of these apparent events that aren't actually happening. There's no such thing as the event of birth because there's no beginning. A beginning is a sharp demarcation. There's no sharp demarcation. A dream doesn't begin like that. A dream you can't find the beginning of the dream. By the time you realize you're dreaming, you're already dreaming. So there's no edge. It's like if you're trying to find the beginning of the present moment. Let's say the present moment has zero duration, right? In other words, the present becomes the past instantly, and then the future appears as the present instantly on an ongoing basis, like a breaking wave. Look right now in this actual flow of time, and try and find a beginning, like an instant or an edge where experience is coming into being, or an edge where it's going out of being. You can't, which means there's no beginning and no end.
And no separation.
And no separation. So these sharp demarcations exist conceptually. They don't exist in reality. And the same applies for the demarcation of existence and non-existence. As the dream illustrates, it doesn't exist. There's nothing there, and yet it's there. And the conscious mind, tends to try and oscillate between, it's there, it's not there. It's there, it's not there. Because in terms of our human logic, it's very hard to think of it as being both there and not there. And yet it is. It's both there and not there. This present experience is both here and not here. Right? If you look at time, try and find the beginning or the end or the duration. How long does the present